Part 1. The Wedding Speech. She had been planning the speech for 3 months. Not obsessively. Not in that way where something takes over your life and you lose sleep over it and wake up at 2 in the morning scribbling notes. Just steadily, thoughtfully, the way she did most things, a few lines added here, a story adjusted there, a joke refined until it landed exactly right. She was the maid of honor. The speech was important. The speech was, in her mind, a gift, maybe the most personal gift she could give her best friend on the most important day of her life. Her name was Claire. She was 32 years old. She had known the bride, her best friend Megan, since they were 21 years of shared history, shared secrets, shared everything. She had held Megan's hand through her parents' divorce, through a broken engagement in her mid-20s, through the long and uncertain months of trying to find the right person. And then Megan had found Ryan. Ryan was 35, handsome in a reliable way, not flashy, a high school history teacher, which everyone agreed was endearing. He had a big laugh and remembered people's names, and was the kind of man that other women's husbands liked immediately, which is a specific kind of social currency that matters more than people admit. He had proposed to Megan on a Tuesday evening in their kitchen. No grand gesture, just a ring and a question, and 20 minutes of both of them crying on the kitchen floor. Megan had called Claire from that kitchen floor, still crying, ring still technically in the box. Claire had started writing the speech that same night. It was a good speech, warm, funny in the right places, honest without being sentimental. It had a story from when they were teenagers that would make Megan cover her face and everyone else laugh. It ended with something true, something about the specific relief of watching someone you love find the person who sees them clearly. She had rehearsed it. She was ready. She was standing in the bridal suite, 40 minutes before the ceremony, smoothing the front of her dress in the mirror, when Megan's younger sister pulled her aside. The sister's name was Jess. She was 27, and she had the expression of someone who had been holding something for too long and could not hold it any longer. "I need to tell you something," Jess said, "and I need you to not react, not here, not today." Claire looked at her. "It's about Ryan," Jess said. Part 2, what Jess knew. Jess had found out 6 weeks before the wedding. She had been at a bar with colleagues from her office, a Friday happy hour, nothing special. And across the room, in a booth near the back, she had seen Ryan, with a woman she didn't recognize. And the way they were sitting, the body language, the closeness, the hand on the table that was almost touching the other hand, told her, immediately and without room for misinterpretation, that this was not a colleague. This was not a friend. She had watched for 10 minutes before she left. She had not known what to do with this information for 6 weeks. She had told no one. She had turned it over in her mind every day. Tell Megan, don't tell Megan, wait, act, say something, say nothing. She had lost weight. She had not slept well. She had watched her sister plan a wedding and pick flowers and taste cake samples and radiate the specific happiness of someone who believes they are running toward something good. She had decided, finally, that she could not let the wedding happen without telling someone. She could not tell Megan, not today, not an hour before the ceremony, not like this. So she had told Claire. "I don't know who she is," Jess said. "I don't know how long, I just know what I saw." Claire looked at her reflection in the mirror for a moment. Her face was very still. "Okay," she said. "What do you mean, okay?" Jess said. "I mean, okay, thank you for telling me." She turned away from the mirror. "We're not going to do anything today." "Claire." "Jess, today is Megan's wedding. Whatever is true or not true, she deserves today. We are going to give her today." She paused. "And then I'm going to find out exactly what is going on." She gave her speech. It was the speech she had written. She told the story about when they were teenagers. She made Megan cover her face and everyone else laugh. She said the true thing about the specific relief of watching someone you love find the person who sees them clearly. She said it and she meant it, and she smiled at Ryan across the table when she said it, and she watched his face for something she couldn't name. Then she went home, changed out of her dress, and opened her laptop. Part 3. The investigation. Claire was a journalist. Not famous, not glamorous, she covered local government and community affairs for a mid-sized city newspaper. It was unglamorous work most of the time. City council meetings, zoning disputes, school board decisions, the kind of stories that matter enormously to the people they affect and are invisible to everyone else. She had been doing it for 8 years. What 8 years of local journalism teaches you, if you pay attention, is how to find things out. How to ask questions without telegraphing what you're looking for. How to follow a thread without letting the thread know it's being followed. How to sit with incomplete information and build toward the complete picture patiently, methodically, without jumping to conclusions you can't yet support. She had those skills. And now she had a reason to use them. She started, as she always started, with what she knew. Ryan was a high school history teacher at Jefferson High. He had grown up in the city, gone to college 2 hours away, come back. He was active on social media, not excessively, but enough. She had been Facebook friends with him for 2 years. She had never looked at his profile with any particular attention before. She looked now. Social media, for someone who knows how to read it, is not a record of someone's life. It's a curated selection of the parts of their life they want certain people to see. But the gaps are just as informative as what's there. The events not mentioned, the weekends unaccounted for, the comments from people you don't recognize. Ryan's profile was normal on its surface. Photos from school events, a few hiking pictures, posts about sports teams, the occasional share of something Megan had posted with an affectionate comment. Nothing alarming. But he was tagged, occasionally, by people she didn't recognize. And one of those tags, from about 8 months ago, a photo from what appeared to be a group birthday party, included a woman she noticed. Not because the woman was remarkable in any obvious way, but because Ryan's posture in the photo, the angle of his body, the way he was slightly turned, was oriented toward her in a way that wasn't quite the same as how he was oriented toward anyone else in the shot. She was in the background, half turned away, her face partially visible. Claire saved the photo, she expanded it, she looked at the woman for a while. Then she started working. It took her 4 days to find her. She cross-referenced the photo with the other people tagged in it, worked her way through their friend lists, matched the partial face against profile pictures with the patience of someone who has done exactly this kind of work to find sources for news stories. She was not doing anything unusual. This was public information, voluntarily posted on public platforms. She found her on the 4th day. Her name was Brooke. She was 30. She worked as a physical therapist at a sports rehabilitation clinic. Her profile was mostly private, but her profile picture was clear. It was the same woman from the birthday party photo. She and Ryan had 11 mutual Facebook friends. Claire sat back from her laptop. Then she started checking the mutual friends' profiles, not intrusively, just the public posts. And what she found over the next 2 days built a picture she had not expected. Ryan and Brooke had been in the same social circle for years. Not the social circle he shared with Megan, a different one, older, from before he and Megan met. Several photos over several years showed them at the same events: a mutual friend's birthday, a group trip to a lake house, a New Year's party. She found a photo from 18 months ago, 7 months before Ryan had proposed to Megan. in which Ryan and Brooke were standing next to each other at what appeared to be a backyard barbecue. He had his arm around her shoulder. Her head was slightly tilted toward him. It was not proof of anything, but it was a data point. She compiled everything into a folder. Then she made a decision. She was not going to present a theory to Megan. She was going to present facts. And she needed one more fact, something current, something that would remove any possibility of alternative explanation. She needed to know whether it was still happening. Part 4, the confirmation. She did something she felt uncomfortable about, and has said so publicly since. She created a fake profile. Not to catfish Ryan, she was clear on this point, and it matters. She did not contact him or entrap him or manufacture anything. She created a profile simply to be able to view Brooke's social media more fully, since Brooke's profile was largely private. She used a generic name, a stock photo, no identifying information. What she found, when she could see more of Brooke's profile, was this. 3 weeks after Ryan and Megan's wedding, the wedding she had just attended, the wedding at which she had given her speech, Brooke had posted a photo. It was of a meal, a nicely set table at what appeared to be a restaurant. The caption was just a heart emoji. She had been tagged in it by a mutual friend who had commented, "You deserve a good night out." The photo had a geotag. Claire looked up the restaurant. It was a place Ryan had mentioned to Megan as one he wanted to take her someday. She knew this because Megan had mentioned it to her once, excitedly. "Ryan keeps talking about this new restaurant downtown. We keep saying we'll go." They had not yet gone. Claire looked at the photo and the geotag for a long time. She had what she needed. She called Megan the next morning. She did not tell her everything on the phone. She told her she needed to see her, that it was important, that she was sorry, that she loved her. Megan heard something in her voice and did not ask questions. She said she'd be home. Claire drove to Megan and Ryan's apartment. They had moved in together a month before the wedding, and she sat on the couch across from her best friend of 21 years, and she told her everything. She showed her the photos, the timeline, the geotag, the restaurant, the 11 mutual friends, the 18 months of context she had assembled. She presented it the way she would present a story to her editor, with the facts organized, the evidence labeled, the conclusions explicitly separated from the evidence so Megan could draw her own. Megan was very quiet through most of it. At the end, she asked one question. "How long have you known?" Claire told her about just seeing them at the bar, told her she had found out on the wedding day, told her why she had waited. Megan nodded slowly. "I need you to leave," she said. "Just for a little while, I need to be alone." "I know," Claire said. She left. She drove home. She sat in her apartment and did not hear from Megan for 3 days. On the 3rd day, Megan called. "I confronted him," she said. Her voice was flat and steady in the way voices get when someone has cried so much that the crying is temporarily exhausted. "He admitted it. It's been going on for 2 years. 2 years, a year before the proposal. Through the engagement, through the planning, through the dress fittings and the venue visits and the cake tastings and the Friday morning phone calls when Megan would read her the latest wedding planning update. Through all of it." "What do you want to do?" Claire asked. Megan was quiet for a moment. "I want people to know," she said. "I don't want to keep his secret. I've been keeping his secret for 3 days and I'm already exhausted by it. I don't want to do it for the rest of my life." "Okay," Claire said. "Will you help me?" "Yes," Claire said. "Tell me what you want." Part 5, the plan. Here is what Megan wanted. She was clear about it. She had thought about it for 3 days and she was clear. She was not interested in a public explosion, not screaming, not social media meltdowns, not the messy, uncontrolled version of exposure that tends to make the person doing it look as bad as the person being exposed. She had watched that happen to other people, and she had no interest in it. What she wanted was for the truth to be available. For the people in her life, the people who had attended her wedding, who had toasted Ryan, who believed they knew who he was, to have accurate information about the man they had welcomed into her life and theirs. She wanted the truth told clearly, once with dignity. And she had something that most people in her situation don't have. She had a journalist best friend. Claire's first instinct as a journalist was to think about what story this was and who needed to tell it. And the answer she kept coming back to was, Megan. Megan needed to tell it. Not Claire, not Jess, not anyone on Megan's behalf. Megan herself, in her own words, with her own voice, in a format she controlled entirely. They spent a week on the logistics. Megan would write a post. A single, carefully written post on her personal social media, not reactive, not emotional in the loose way that invites responses, but clear and factual and final. Claire helped her draft it the way she would help a source draft a statement, not putting words in her mouth, but helping her say what she meant as precisely and effectively as possible. The post went through 11 drafts. The final version was 4 paragraphs. The first paragraph said that she and Ryan were separating, effective immediately, and that she wanted to share the reason directly rather than let speculation fill the silence. The second paragraph stated the facts plainly, that Ryan had been in an ongoing relationship with another woman for approximately 2 years, including through their entire engagement and the first weeks of their marriage. She did not name Brooke. She did not describe her. She simply stated the fact. The third paragraph was addressed, indirectly, to the people who had attended the wedding. It acknowledged that they had celebrated something that was, on his side, not what it appeared to be. It thanked them for their love and support, and said she was keeping that, regardless of what else she was losing. The fourth paragraph was one sentence, "I'm going to be fine." They also made 2 other decisions. The first involved Ryan's school. Claire had thought carefully about this. Ryan was a public school teacher. His professional reputation was, in most circumstances, separate from his personal life, and she believed strongly that it should stay that way. A person's infidelity is not a job performance issue. She was not going to contact his school or imply anything about his professional conduct. However, Ryan coached the boys' varsity soccer team. It was a visible role, photos in the local paper, coverage at games, a position of community trust and visibility. He had also been nominated for a Teacher of the Year award in the district, and part of that process involved a community endorsement component, a period during which the school invited parents and community members to submit supportive letters. Claire checked. The endorsement window was still open. She wrote a letter, not against Ryan, not a complaint, simply a letter withdrawing her previous endorsement, which she had submitted months earlier at Megan's suggestion. She withdrew it with a brief note saying that circumstances had changed and she no longer felt comfortable providing a personal endorsement. She was not required to explain further. She did not explain further. The second decision was about the wedding gifts. Ryan and Megan had received substantial gifts, money, registry items, contributions toward their honeymoon fund. Under the circumstances, Megan had decided to return what she could. But she also decided to tell the people who had given money why she was returning it. Not in an emotional way, just a personal note, thanking them for their generosity, explaining that the marriage was ending due to Ryan's infidelity and returning the funds. 81 people received those notes. 81 people who had attended the wedding, toasted the couple, and believed they were celebrating something real. 81 people who were now in possession of accurate information. Part 6. The Post. Meghan published the post on a Thursday evening. Neither of them could have fully predicted what happened next. The post was shared. Not virally, this was not the kind of story that spreads beyond the people it directly touches. But within their shared social world, within the network of 240 people who saw it because they were Meghan's Facebook friends, it landed like a stone in still water. The ripples were immediate. Within an hour, there were dozens of comments. Not the vicious kind, not the pylon kind, the expressions of love kind, the I had no idea kind, the you deserve so much better kind. Old friends Meghan had lost touch with, people from high school she hadn't spoken to in years, colleagues she barely knew. They came. They said things. Ryan's friends saw it. His college friends, his childhood friends, the people from the social circle that overlapped with Brooks. They saw it and they could not unsee it. His mother saw it. This detail is in Meghan's own account of events, and she includes it not with satisfaction but with the plain honesty of someone reporting what happened. Ryan's mother called him within 2 hours of the post going live. Meghan doesn't know what was said. She doesn't need to know. Several people who had attended the wedding and received Meghan's note about returning the gift money responded to confirm they'd received the refund. Some of them added their own words about Ryan. Some did not. Either way, they knew. Brooks' name was never mentioned anywhere in any of this. Meghan had been firm about that. Brooke was not the person who had made a commitment to her. Ryan was. Ryan sent Meghan a long message that night. She has described it as containing, in roughly equal measure, anger and pleading. He was upset that she had gone public. He felt this was a private matter. He asked her to take the post down. She did not take the post down. She replied with 3 words, "Please contact lawyers." Part 7. What Ryan lost. Ryan had built something specific over the years in their city. He was the kind of person who was liked broadly and trusted generally. He coached soccer. He was nominated for awards. He showed up at neighborhood events. He was, in the language people use for people like this, well-regarded. Well-regarded is a fragile thing. It is built over years and it depends almost entirely on the gap between who people think you are and who you actually are staying narrow. When that gap is exposed, not attacked, not exaggerated, just exposed, well-regarded has nowhere to go. The Teacher of the Year nomination did not advance. There is no way to know whether Claire's withdrawn endorsement was a factor, or whether the community endorsement phase simply reflected the new information people had. Either way, it did not advance. The soccer coaching position was not taken from him. That would have required a formal process and a professional reason, neither of which existed. But the parents of his players knew. The other coaches knew. The atmosphere around that role became, from multiple accounts, noticeably cooler. He finished the season. He did not reapply for the following year. His friendships fractured, not all of them, but several of the men he had been close to, men who had attended the wedding, who had given toasts, who had clapped him on the back, pulled back, not dramatically, quietly. The group chats went quieter. The invitations came less frequently. He was not exiled. He was simply, gradually, less included. His family knew. His mother, who had called the night of the post. His sister, who had been a bridesmaid. His uncle, who had flown in from another state for the wedding. They all knew. He was not destroyed. She wants to be clear about that, and Meghan is clear about it too. He kept his job. He kept his apartment. He continued his life. But the life he continued was smaller than the one he had expected to have. The version of Ryan that existed in other people's minds, trusted, well-regarded, good guy was replaced by a more accurate version. He had done this to himself. The post didn't create the truth. It simply made it available. Part 8. The divorce. Megan had been married for 5 weeks when she filed for divorce. The legal process in her state included a standard waiting period. It was not fast, but it was, given the circumstances, relatively uncomplicated. There were no children. The marital assets accumulated in 5 weeks were minimal. Ryan did not contest the divorce. He did, through his attorney, request that the social media post be removed as a condition of the settlement. His attorney framed this as a reputation protection request. Megan's attorney said no. The post stayed up. The divorce was finalized 7 months later. Megan kept her furniture, her savings, her name. She did not keep any particular bitterness, or at least, she did not allow bitterness to be the thing that defined what came next. She moved into a new apartment with a friend from work. She got a cat, a large, unimpressed tabby she named Gerald, which Claire found funny for reasons that only made sense to the two of them. She went back to the pottery class she had stopped going to when wedding planning took over her schedule. She started, slowly, to become someone defined by what she was building rather than what had been done to her. Part 9. Seal. People ask about Claire in this story. What happened to her, what she got from all of this, whether it cost her anything. The answer is that it cost her something. Ryan had mutual friends with both Megan and Claire. Several of those people in the aftermath felt that Claire had been too involved, that her role in the investigation, the post, the withdrawn endorsement was excessive, that she should have told Megan and stepped back, not told Megan and helped strategize. She understood that position. She did not agree with it, but she understood it. She had thought about it herself more than once. She had asked herself whether she had crossed a line from supportive friend into something else. Her conclusion was that she had not. Everything she had done used public information, legal means, and the honest exercise of her own choices, including the choice to withdraw an endorsement she no longer felt comfortable giving. She had not lied about Ryan. She had not exaggerated. She had not done anything she would be ashamed to explain in full. But she accepted that some people would see it differently. She accepted that being Megan's person in this meant losing some people from her own life who had been Ryan's people first. She lost 2 friendships that had mattered to her. She is honest about the fact that this was hard. She has also said, and this rings true, that she would do all of it again. Part 10. What Megan said. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, Megan wrote something online. Not about Ryan. She was done writing about Ryan. She wrote about the experience of going through something like this in a semi-public way, about what it felt like to choose honesty over the quieter option of simply disappearing from a situation, letting people fill in the blanks, preserving the dignity of a lie for the sake of a smoother social experience. She said she had almost chosen the quieter option. In those 3 days after she confronted Ryan, she had seriously considered it. She had thought about how much easier it would be to say we grew apart and let that be the story. She had thought about his mother, his friends, the awkwardness of 81 conversations she would now have to have at some level. She had thought about Brooke, who had not asked to be adjacent to any of this. She said she had decided against the quiet option for one reason. She was tired of performing. She had been performing, she realized, for a long time. Performing happiness she partly felt. Performing certainty she didn't entirely have. Performing the role of the woman whose life was going exactly according to plan. And she had watched Ryan perform, watched him perform being a devoted fiancé, a loving husband, a trustworthy person, and she had been the appreciative audience for all of it, believing she was watching something real. She was done with the performance. The post was, in the end, not about revenge. She was careful about this. It was not a weapon or a punishment. It was simply the truth, stated clearly, so that she could stop managing a lie on behalf of someone who had never extended her the same consideration. She said, "When you tell the truth about what happened to you, you stop being the only one carrying it. That's not revenge. That's just breathing again." Part 11. The Wedding Faux. There is one detail in Megan's account that stays with you. After Ryan moved out of their apartment, it had been hers before the wedding, she kept it after, she was going through the things he had left behind. The small accumulated debris of a life that had briefly overlapped with hers. She was putting things in a box to be picked up. She found the wedding photo. Not the professional album that hadn't arrived yet from the photographer. This was a print they had made of a single photo, a candid someone had taken during the reception, the two of them laughing at something, genuinely laughing, caught in a moment of unperformed happiness. She looked at it for a long time. Then she put it in the box. She has said since that this was the hardest moment. Not the confrontation, not the post, not the divorce proceedings. The photo. Because the laugh was real, she knew it was real, she had been there, she remembered what they were laughing at. And the fact that one real moment could exist inside so much that was false was the thing that took the longest to make sense of. She put it in the box, and she sealed the box, and she put the box by the door. Then she went to her pottery class. Epilogue, breathing again. Megan is doing well now. She says this plainly, without performance, the way people say things when they mean them simply. She has the cat. She has the pottery class. She has Claire, who texts her something ridiculous every morning and has since they were 11 years old, and who showed up for her in the hardest months in the way that only a 21-year friendship can produce. She met someone eventually. She has not written about him publicly. She is careful about what she shares now, not out of fear, but out of the understanding that not everything needs an audience. Some things are just yours. She has said one thing about him, that he is the kind of person who is the same in every room. The same with her as with his friends, his family, strangers. No performance, no management, no version of himself calibrated for different audiences. She said, "That's all I needed to know." Ryan, as far as anyone knows, is living his life, quieter than before, smaller, working at the same school in a social world that has subtly reorganized itself around the truth of who he is. He and Brooke, that chapter ended, from what Megan has heard, not long after the post. She does not know the details and does not need them. She keeps the 81 notes she wrote not as trophies, but as a record of something she did when it was hard. She pulled them out once, a few months after the divorce, and read through them. They were gracious, she thought, honest and gracious. She had said what needed to be said, and she had said it well. Claire still covers local government for the same newspaper. She still sits through city council meetings and zoning disputes and school board arguments. She is still the person in every room who follows the thread and builds toward the complete picture and waits until she can support what she knows. She is still Megan's person. She will be for however long they both live, probably. The wedding speech is gone. She deleted the file a few months after everything ended. But she remembers the ending. The true things she had said about the specific relief of watching someone you love find the person who sees them clearly. She is waiting for that to be the right speech to give again. She thinks it will be, eventually. And if you are watching this, because something in this story felt familiar, here is what Megan would want you to take from it. You do not owe anyone the management of their lie. When someone deceives you, they are not only betraying you, They are conscripting you into a performance you never agreed to give. The question of whether to expose that deception is yours to answer, and you can answer it in the way that feels right to you. But you are not required to protect someone else's reputation at the cost of your own honesty. You are not required to smile at the version of events that erases what happened to you. You are not required to keep a secret that was never yours. The truth, stated plainly and once, is not revenge. It is just the truth. And the truth, as Megan found, is the first breath you take after a very long time of not quite breathing.